that.
No.
All right, we are live, and it's Skip Clark and Skip Happens, and it's going to be a fun night. It's going to be an interesting night. And joining me is Marissa Lanchak. She is a life coach, and I have a lot to do with radio, but she does too, and she's got quite the past, and just a great person. We met. How many years ago did we meet?
It was either 2016. I think it was 2016 or 2017, like the beginning of it.
We were like hitting up Memphis. It was the St. Jude Research Hospital, the Radiothon conference that they had.
Yeah, but what we really connected with was the bar hopping afterwards. So
yeah, that was kind of crazy, but it was a good time, and it's good to see you. It's good. It's been a few years, and I know you've been in and out of radio doing your thing, but now you have become a life coach, and I love this. And feelthishappy.com. Marissa, tell us a little bit about that.
So I don't want to be a downer right off the rip here, but what kind of
right.
I just want to tell you what inspired all of this.
Okay, yeah, please.
So the funny thing is, before I even had any life experience, I mean, I was like single digits, and for whatever reason, people always came to me for advice. I don't really know why. Like in high school, I hadn't even been in a relationship. People were coming to me for relationship advice, and I'm just looking around like, cool. All right. But then, you fast forward to 2015, 2016, 2017. I actually had a couple friends within the radio industry who happened to commit suicide. And it was devastating to me because I love them, obviously. But it made me feel like they didn't think they had somebody they could confide in. And it made me realize that there's a lot of people in that position. And to add to that, I had actually just gotten myself out of an abusive relationship. And I know how tough it can feel when you're at your like lowest point and just not wanting to be here anymore. So taking all of that into consideration, after I had heard about the second friend involved here, I went up and I hit up my radio Facebook page. I've got like over 6,000 people on there. And I just wanted to be like, listen, if you ever feel like you don't have somebody, I'm a DM away. Like I might not be able to answer 30 seconds after you send the message, but I will get it. Right. I will listen. I will respond. I will be an ear. You can lean on my shoulder virtually and we'll get through this together. I don't want to see that happen to anybody because I know how it feels. So, a few people did actually take me up on that almost immediately. And I watched people go from me being concerned they were going to hurt themselves to completely changing their life around. And it just made me go, you know what? I got something here. I don't know what it is that I'm doing exactly, but if I go ahead and I get myself certified and I try to take this to the next level, I could help more than just a handful of people. I could help a lot of people. And really, that's what the whole point is. I mean, somebody might look at me going, well, you're making financial gain. Not really. I don't charge a whole lot.
No, I saw that. You do not.
And people actually yell at me for that. And I'm like, well, I'm just getting started. But, I want to make it so it's easily accessible for people, no matter what their financial situation might be, because everybody should be able to have somebody to talk to. I'm not a therapist. I will never say that I am. Right. But to have somebody that can just be a listener for you. Sometimes people just need to vent. Sometimes people just need to get it out. Other people need to have somebody outside of their circle that'll hold them accountable to things. That I've found has been extremely helpful I've helped out at least 100 people at this point, and I only started at the beginning of the year. So, whether somebody is an official client or they're just messaging me off the cuff, they just want somebody to talk to quick. I allow it all. So I just want to help.
This all started when you had a couple of friends commit suicide, but, and that was in high school or?
No, that was, I want to say the first one was in like 2015 and then the next one was in 2017. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just amazing that the way you're speaking and what you're talking about, it amazes me that you've chosen this path and you're there to help people. almost like somebody put you there. Can I ask, were you like, let's go back a little bit. Were you bullied in high school or anything like that that would make you maybe want to change and help people or anything like that?
Um, I mean, I was never real. Yes, I mean, I think at some point everybody's kind of picked on.
True, true.
I was very shy growing up,
Okay,
so I was more of an observer.
okay,
And maybe that is part of it. Like I'm a really good people reader, so I can kind of tell when somebody's got something going on. Even like I here's a prime example.
okay,
When I was working at one radio station in my hometown, my friend that would come in after me, he would be coming in like we kind of do an hour of overlap, and he would come in, and I'd look at him and I just go, what's going on? And he would just go, how do you do that? And I don't know. I knew him well enough that I was just able to know something was up. So I mean, I can't equate it to necessarily being
yeah,
bullied or anything. I know that I'm somebody who kind of grew up fast. My grandparents were like a second set of parents, my dad's parents. And
uh-huh,
when I was little, when we bought this house that I'm currently in right now, because I'm in New York, that my grandparents actually moved in the neighborhood across the street to be close to me because I was their only grandchild.
uh-huh.
And by the age of 6, I lost my grandfather. By the
Oh
age of
wow.
8, I had lost my grandmother from stomach cancer. And she found out almost immediately after my grandfather had passed away. And we ended up we moved in with her and took care of her until her last days. So I mean, I was 8 years old, but I was staying home alone and taking
Hmm,
care of
hmm,
myself
hmm.
for hours on end. And,
A lot of
I was,
responsibility right off.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I
yeah.
feel like I've kind of always been I've always been like 15 years older.
Right, right.
So that might also be a part of it. I'm not too
Yeah.
sure.
No, it's just I think it's really cool to know what you're doing, and what you're doing for people is pretty awesome. And you mentioned just a few minutes ago about reaching out to somebody outside of your circle. And I
Hmm.
have found when we all have our moments, we all have our issues, that sometimes I don't want to be in my circle. I want to talk to somebody from the outside that's looking in and say, okay, here's the deal. Here's what's going on. Am I
Yep.
right? Am I wrong? What are you thinking? And I always get it. It's a more of an honest answer than somebody that's trying to just tell you what you want to hear. I want to know the
Yeah.
truth. So that's why I go outside my circle.
Yeah, I have even friends of mine have said to me that they come to me too because I don't sugarcoat it.
Hmm,
Like if
hmm.
somebody's being a giant bee, I will tell them that they're being a giant bee and they need to like check themselves. Um, and you're right. And I will say this too, and you probably will hear me say this at some point again in reference to stuff like this, but it does come to having a different perspective. So,
Hmm.
the people that are in your circle, they might be getting your perspective as well as somebody else's perspective, and then it's, blending. But when you're on the outside and you're seeing it from all those different angles, it's like,
Right.
wait a minute, maybe like think about it this way. And like I've been somebody who's learned put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Like stop, like breathe for a second, no matter what you're feeling, breathe, put yourself in their shoes and try to line up why they might be feeling or reacting or saying the things that they're
Mhm,
doing,
mhm.
because everybody's going through stuff. Like everybody's got their own stuff.
We all
You
have
know,
stuff. Stuff
yeah.
in
I mean,
uppercase, big letters, stuff.
listen,
A
listen.
lot of it.
Skip happens. Okay.
That's right. What do you think I named it Skip Happens for? Because we have stuff. Stuff.
everybody's everybody's got skip. Okay.
It is. It is. Yeah, you must be really good at body language, reading people's, their body language, facial expressions, just the way they're talking, maybe the sound of their voice, and all
Uh,
that. I think that's part
yeah,
of.
for the most part. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of when I'm having these one-on-one sessions with people, a lot of it is over the phone. So I'm kind of judging based on voice, but I've
Right.
I've also become, I don't know why this is a thing either, but I'm really good at reading between the lines. So like if somebody goes ahead and they send me a message, like I can get I can get a lot out of that. And
There's more out of instead of the
yeah,
one sentence. There's a lot more to it. You just by
yeah.
the words they're using, and yeah, you know there's something else up.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
So you becoming a life coach, what does it take? I mean, you've told me a lot about you
Hmm.
and why you've chosen the path that you've chosen, not only the radio thing, but being a life coach. But what does it take to be a certified life coach? Like you went through, did you go take classes? How does all this work?
Yeah, I'll be completely honest. It's not a
Please.
requirement to be a life coach to be 100% certified and everything. But I
Right.
wanted to kind of have myself be a step ahead of somebody who just wanted to go ahead and try to give people advice. I mean, it's
Hmm.
one thing to
Hmm.
give people advice. It's another thing to have the education behind it. So I did go online, and I definitely took. I think I've taken like 3 or 4 courses so far, and I keep
Cool.
extending that education because I I never know what is going to come at me. I throw out there that I'm trying to give you, help you reach that happiness that you've been, striving for. That's the whole point of, I feel this happy. I want you to feel this happy in your version of it. That's kind of the whole point. But,
Hmm. Hmm.
there's a lot of different things that people go through, whether it's they were sexually abused, or maybe they're just having a bully at work.
Right.
So
Right.
the examples are so varying, that you want to have more than just a handful of things in your bag that you can kind of come up with for somebody to help, and guide them. So I've taken multiple courses. I've done a lot of reading. That book, You
Hmm.
Are a
Hmm.
Badass. I mean,
Yeah.
I would
Oh
go
yeah.
ahead and recommend that to anybody.
Really.
That was actually kind of the turning point for me because, as you know, I had been laid off back in October. And the last thing that I did for that one radio station that I was working for, was a live broadcast from the Bahamas.
I
So,
saw the clips on Facebook.
yeah.
Lucky
So,
you, by the
yeah.
way.
I mean, if you're going to
Well,
go
you know,
out in style,
yes.
So, so I was on my way home, and I had brought that book with me, and I was finishing it on the way back. And I stopped and I paused for a moment, and I was just like, you know what? When I get back, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to see what I have to do to become a certified life coach. And then I got laid off, and I'm like, well, I've got all this time to figure it out. So I did it. And
I love it.
there's a lot of people that, look at the situation that we're in right now. A lot of people are getting laid
Right.
off, and a lot of people are in that spot where, their life has just been flipped upside down. And I've had it happen to me a couple times now in the last few years. And each time I've learned, utilize that time to your best advantage. So for me, I don't let any of it slip by. I try my damnedest to educate myself further,
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
to kind of grow as much as I can, to find out what's out there, whether it's radio, or in this case, it was learning how to become a certified life coach. And I got laid off in October. I had built the website by November. I had announced it by Christmas, and by January
I
I launched
know.
it. So
I'm like, look
like,
at her go. This is pretty cool.
like I mean, when you look at the website, I mean,
Uh-huh.
I built that from the ground up. I mean, I made the logo, I created the name, I did everything.
Love
So
it.
when it's your baby, you want to do it right. So
And by the way, the website is fieldishappy.com.
yeah.
Feel free to check it out, which is pretty cool. Hey, we're talking. Did I cut you off? If I did,
Nope.
I apologize. Okay, now we got everything going on right now. There's people without jobs. There's people
Mhm.
wondering where the next check is going to come from. Are they going to be able to pay their bills? What's going to be the new normal? I mean, normal the way we used to know it. I don't think it's going to be like that anymore. But
I don't think so.
there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. How do we handle those situations? How do we? I'm fortunate enough to be okay. All right, I'm doing okay, but I have friends that are not.
Right.
And how do you handle the situation? You got a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, all that's building up. What do we do?
Well, the first thing I'm going to state is, please do not get in your own way. That is the biggest factor that tends to, because when your brain is overthinking,
Hmm.
you can just completely get in your own head. You can get in your own way. You can kill your motivation. You can kill any kind of drive that you have. So first and foremost is, try to just like allow yourself a break. Do not be hard on yourself, because everybody is having it happen right now. This was out of everybody's hands.
Right.
Like
It's nobody's fault,
this
so
isn't
to speak.
anybody. Yeah, it's nobody's fault.
Right.
It's simply just this period of time that we're all going through that I hope nobody in our lifetime has to go through ever again. But what I've been suggesting to people, I mean, you've got people who are out of work, you've got people who are trying desperately to work from home, even though,
It's
I mean,
difficult.
I've got sales people, friends that are in sales that are trying to
Mhm.
work from home, and all these businesses are closed. Like, how do you do any of that? I'm still mind blown by it all. But you've got parents who are now trying to do homeschooling with their kids, and
Mhm.
it's how do you make it all work? The number one thing that I have been recommending is stick to a schedule. And that's simply because the biggest part of your normalcy is that routine that you typically have, right? So you right now it's so easy to just take that away if you're constantly at home. I mean, I was noticing it a lot when this first happened, where
Mhm.
people now they're working from home or they don't have a job, and instead of being any kind of productive or trying to keep any sort of normalcy, they were allowing that change to just kind of take over, and they were not showering, and they were staying in pajamas all day, and they just didn't
Hey,
care. And that's okay every once in a while,
I've
but
done it.
I mean, listen, I'm comfy,
Look
but
at, I
I
got my sweats
changed.
on for crying out
Skip,
loud.
I, you know what? I'm going to tell you right now. I did you a favor and I put pants on. Like, I,
Well, that's good.
well, I put leggings on, but
Okay.
typically
Yeah.
I've been wearing sweatpants. So instead of wearing something that had sweat in front of it, I did you a service. But
It's not like I'm going to see it anyways. I can't see
nah,
your legs. You can't see mine, which is good.
I could have been pantless for all you knew.
Well, maybe I am. I don't know.
Maybe
No,
you are.
stop. Stop.
Uh,
Okay.
but so the whole point of having a routine is to keep a little bit of that normalcy in your life when everything else is completely not normal. So you get up at the same time, you go ahead and you schedule that time to get
Yeah.
ready, and you make sure that you are showering, and you change. I'm not going to tell you to go ahead and put a suit on, but I am going to tell you to get the hell out of your pajamas and get into your daytime pajamas, okay? Like, get out of the nighttime sweats and get into the daytime sweats, because just a matter of putting fresh clothes on,
Making a
you got a
change.
whole yeah, you got a
Yeah.
whole new perspective that you can now work with. Also, if you are somebody who is working from home, or you're now trying to go ahead and find what's next for you, maybe you're furloughed and you know that you're going to be going back to that job eventually.
Mhm.
The best thing, you don't want to go ahead and spend all day working. Now you're from home, right? So especially if you are still kind of on somebody's clock, it can be where work becomes a 24/7 thing,
Mm.
whereas you wouldn't be like that in the office, right?
It's
You'd
too
work 8 or
much.
9 hours.
Yeah. Right.
So it's a matter of, like I said, get that schedule in. So schedule out a couple hours. Maybe it's from 8 till 10 or 10 till noon, and dedicate that time so you are focused on building a resume, working ahead so you can kind of be prepared for when you do go back to work. Maybe you are still employed, be focused on what the task is for the day and in that 2 hours. But when that 2 hours is up, you need to take a break. You need to go ahead and you need to schedule lunch and make sure that it's a healthy lunch and not ding dongs or whatever the heck people are eating right now and gaining that COVID-19. Okay, you've got to go ahead and you've got to make sure that you're making good choices as well, because this is your life right now. Like, do you want to become a big lazy blob, or do you want to continue
Right.
to
Right.
be able to be
It's a good point.
successful?
Yeah.
So, if you're scheduling some of this stuff out, like, schedule out the work, make sure you're scheduling your meals. You're not going to overeat if that's the case. Get outside too. The nice days, like, it was beautiful here today. It was beautiful
Yes.
yesterday. That vitamin D is going to help. And getting out of your house and out of your environment that you're feeling stuck in right now, it does wonders.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more with that.
I'm also
Excellent.
going to say that when you do that, leave the phone at home. or at least if you're like, don't be checking your emails and don't be answering work calls while you're on that walk. That's you time. Self-care is so important right now. I know we have
It's
them on us at all points.
we do.
But it's so important to limit the work when you can and make sure that you're making time for yourself. I've noticed a lot of employers that if they're doing it right, they are very aware of that, and it's okay because everybody's feeling it. Like your boss is feeling it too. So it's a matter of giving yourself that time to just put the phone aside, put the social media aside if that's overwhelming you, and just really embrace some self-care in that routine as well. Schedule in the kids through that as you're going through your day, but you do the schedule, you make that routine that
Right.
makes the most sense for you, and that is going to just completely like reinvigorate your world right now.
Right. I'm very fortunate to have a daughter that's a school teacher in Virginia, and she's got three little ones. So they have school during the day in the house at the kitchen table, and she's a reading specialist. So at their age level as well. So she has them working every day, and I remember I checked in on them the other day, and it was like, no, the kids are doing schoolwork. They'll call you afterwards. It's
Yeah,
just
it's tough. I mean, there's a lot of
yeah.
parents. I mean, you see it too. It's been on the news where like there are parents who aren't even logging their kids in, so like they're not doing any school at all, and it's because they're having a hard time juggling it all.
Yeah, I
Honestly,
don't know if they know how to do it. You know what?
well,
There's the right and the wrong way, if I'm not mistaken.
there's a lot of factors. I mean, there's people who don't have designated Wi-Fi. There's people who don't have the
Sure.
technology. There's people who don't understand how to use it. I mean, this is a learning curve for all of us. That's why it's like you got to cut yourself some slack a little bit, and you schedule out the time to work, but you got to schedule time for you too, because otherwise you are going to feel it very, very heavily. And you don't want to be overwhelmed right now because we're already kind of to that stress level that if it goes any
But
higher.
right. But everything that you're saying, I think that adds to that stress level and that anxiety, knowing you don't know how to handle this with the kids. You don't know what to do, and you're afraid that they're not going to get that education, and I think that just adds to it.
Oh,
So
that stuff
so you
totally
just
does.
yeah, so maybe you just need to back away from it for a little bit, or I mean, you
Yeah,
said in the beginning that don't get into your own way.
right.
Don't all right, which means I would assume, all right, maybe I just got furloughed or I was let go for whatever reason. Well, obviously, maybe the COVID-19, but all right, just step back. Don't worry about it right now. Just kind of regroup. Just chill for a couple of days and try to get everything like set up a list of priorities and what you're
Yes.
going to need to do.
Yes. The other thing that I've been recommending to some people, especially like in those positions, it's like
Hmm.
this is a perfect time for you to kind of reevaluate what you want for you. So, were you actually happy in the job that you had? Like, there's a lot of people who just do their job to do their job, but now you have
Paycheck,
right, you have the opportunity
right?
where so many people have said in the past, "Man, I wish I could have a do-over. I wish I could start over. I just want to start fresh." We have that opportunity now, and it's scary and it's frustrating because we don't know when that new chapter starts.
Right.
But you have the opportunity right now to kind of really brainstorm that for yourself, make lists of things that you want out of your career, what's important to you. Some people think it's the dollar amount on the paycheck, but maybe it's just the fact that you are going to feel appreciated. Maybe it's the fact that you get to be creative and you have always felt like you were held back before. So think about the things that are most important to you and really see what avenues you can now navigate once
Hmm.
this is all said and done, because the jobs are going to come back. It's going to be slow and it's going to be kind of scattered at first, but once the economy kind of opens again, we're going to see new positions. We're going to see some of those old positions reopen, but some of those people might not go back into those positions because we're realizing maybe they weren't the right fit and now somebody else is. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Like
right, right.
there's so many things that are going to be coming up that keep the hope and keep like your wants in check.
I kind of wonder if we're talking about the old way in those old positions, but maybe they're not even going to be there anymore because there's been such a new way of doing things. I think we've brought out, because of all this, there might be a good side to it. I mean, I know that sounds weird, but with the technology and the way we've been doing things, and part of me is kind of a little bit nervous that a lot of these bigger companies are going to say, we don't need all these people. Look what they're doing. They could work part-time, or they could do it, through with the technology that we have. And I think things are going to change. And I think that's on a lot of people's minds that, I'm not going to have that job. That's not going to be there when this is all said and done. So there's going to be a new way of doing things. And it's crazy. But
it is crazy. It's weird to think. I mean, half the time, there are so many people who are not directly affected by the virus itself right now. And it just feels like you're living in a movie. Like it doesn't feel real because you're not immediately affected by it. Even hearing that a friend might have it doesn't hit home really, because it just doesn't seem believable. So it's like we all kind of feel like we're doing this for no reason. But I think, the big picture of it all is it's a whole learning process for the world, of what positions are important, how technology is coming into play.
Very much. Yeah.
And we're going to see how this directly affects everything, in the coming weeks and months. But, you're right. Some of those jobs might not come back. But if that's the case, for somebody that is, watching right now, don't look at that as, oh my God, my life is over. Look at that as, this is an opportunity. This is somebody telling you that something better is available for you, and it's going to open up. Because I'm the proof of that. I mean, I've been, a budget cut now 3-4 times in the last 4 or 5 years, and each time it's happened, something better has come along, and it feels awful in the moment. Yeah. It feels horrible in the moment. And, it definitely hurts, it hurts your confidence. But if you can just be aware that, okay, you know what, maybe I didn't really like my job, be honest with yourself about it and realize that something else that might be a better fit and overall is coming. I think that it just eases the mind just a smidge. I mean, because it's all keeping that hope in check. You got to be hopeful. Otherwise, we're going to drive ourselves crazy.
It is. I look at change as an exciting thing for me. I really do. I look at change. I'm not, but I think if I was in that situation where I was let go or furloughed, I'd be looking like exactly what you were saying. I'd be looking ahead going, you know what, this is kind of exciting because now I can get a new start and, just kind of redevelop, but maybe use my talent somewhere, try to, you can see what I've done here with the podcast studio. These are things that I want to do, and I'm looking towards my future. However, I'm still fully employed, with my radio job, but.
Well, I can give you the example of somebody who was not, obviously I'm not a full-time employee anywhere right now. What I'm doing is Feel This Happy. That is, it's my business. I was always looking at it as something for the side and while I'm working somewhere else.
Sure.
So I have been looking for full-time radio, and I was just about to get my next job. I had the offer. I had accepted it. I was about, my apartment in Boston right now is all packed. I was just waiting for that paperwork, and COVID hit. And that paperwork is not coming. That job might not exist anymore when all this is said and done. But I will tell you right now that my start date was supposed to be 2 weeks ago, I think. It was supposed to be the end of March. Mm-hmm. And that company had major layoffs that week. Yeah. Can I tell you what would have happened? I would have paid for my move. I would have signed a new lease. I would have gotten there and probably not started the job at all. So when you're able to look at that situation and see the big picture of it hurt in the moment, I'm like, I'm never going to get that paperwork. I was supposed to have this job. I was supposed to be, working back in radio, be all happy, have this great opportunity, and it was taken from me. But it's the universe's way of saying, hey, hold up. We're going to save you a ton of money instead. How about that?
Exactly. I'm fine.
I'm good. I'm
I'm
good.
good.
Thank
I'm
you.
good. Thanks. 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 No, I get it. Totally get it. It's great. It's like going through all this too. You gotta set a new balance between life and everything else that you have going on.
Hmm.
You've got to reestablish that balance too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you totally do, and that's why that's why the schedule that I was referring to is so important to have that work life balance because, like I was saying, there's so many people that when this all hit and they're trying to work from home, they're trying to have their kids do the schooling from home, like
Mhm.
they're having a tough time meshing the two. And it can be incredibly frustrating. But if you have the time blocks kind of figured out for yourself, because what we're realizing is school does not take the entire day. Work doesn't
Right.
necessarily need to take the entire day right now,
Very
but
true.
you need to have the quiet space for the kids. You need to have the quiet space for you and the quiet time so you can get that stuff done, and then also implement the self care in there. That's why that schedule is so important. So you're not letting it slip. If you
Hmm.
hold yourself to
Hmm.
something
Hmm.
like that, and you're holding yourself to getting your productive stuff done, but also the self care, you're going to have that balance. You're going to feel better. You're going to feel more accomplished. For the people who are, don't have the job right now, it's so important to, make sure that you're falling back on like old hobbies. It's if you are keeping track of what you're doing throughout the day and you see that list of things, you
Hmm.
you automatically feel productive. Like that's like one of those things that I realized when I was let go so many times. If I had a list of things to do throughout the day, it can be something as simple as like I got the laundry done.
Right.
You feel like you have purpose. You have to do things that make you feel like you have purpose during the day. If you have a day where you're just binge watching Netflix, totally cool. But like if it's every day, you're gonna be feeling this a lot heavier
Mm.
than somebody who is trying to do other things and keep themselves active.
I don't know. My wife has been binge watching Netflix. How to Get Away with Murder,
Okay.
and it's making me feel a little uncomfortable at this point. So I'm
Well,
just
I
saying.
mean, she
Ah,
might. I'm not going to say she's
I
planning
know.
anything, Skip,
No,
but
no, no. I'm just kidding. But she's been watching that right now. So
yeah,
she's like every night, night after night after night. So
but that's the thing is, I'm sure she's doing other things during the day, and
she does a
that's
puzzle, and she's a meeting and event planner. So she is working from home all day. But you know
yeah,
what? And I'm thinking as you were talking, I'm thinking about what my wife Nancy is doing. Is the fact that she does a couple of hours at work, a couple of hours doing something else, and then
hmm,
she goes back, does a little more over there. She's very well organized, and she's got
yeah,
the day planned out. And
hmm,
by the end of the day, she's done. She does
yeah,
it, at 5 o'clock, she's done. And she's got the whole day, everything's been planned out. And me, I work here half the day and I go and do my shift live from the radio station in the afternoon. So but she does a very good job of planning out her day, uh, pretty much the way you explained people should do. What,
yeah. And
what you're telling us.
some people kind of pick that up right away, and then other people are really struggling with it because of all the emotion that goes along with it. So when all of a sudden it's like, I mean, think about it. Like it really was like somebody flipped a switch, and everybody's lives were different the next day.
Yeah, pretty
Um,
much.
so it's a lot to take in all at once, and I totally get that. That's why if you can like take that step back, take that breath, and just think think about your day to day and what you want out of your day. Like, I mean, it sounds silly because it could be something as simple, like I said, as doing the laundry or reorganizing the
No, I know,
kitchen,
I
or
know, I
but
get it.
it's we've all been so busy for so long, and we've all now been forced to slow down, and
Mhm.
we've had so many times where it's like, man, I wish I had today to just do nothing. And it's like now we have it and we don't know what to do with it, but we really do know what to do with it because there's so many projects that we put aside. There's so many hobbies that we had that we've kind of
Oh yeah,
lost the love for because we've just kind of been too busy to focus on them.
that is so
This is
true.
this is a time where, if you're alone, you have the ability to reconnect with friends just like we're doing right now. So many people are taking up the option to Zoom and to Skype
Hmm.
and to
Hmm. Hmm.
FaceTime. And, we're also a people that, in normal life, we text all the time. And if somebody calls, we're like, why is somebody calling me? Well, that's because that's what a phone is for. So, use it to reconnect. Like, we don't have to be really alone right now. We can be together.
No, absolutely right. And what I was doing yesterday when I was just going through like my friends list and people I have maybe haven't seen in a while, just sending them a message. Hey, and that's how you and I connected. And I'm like,
Yep.
wait a minute. I wonder if she'd want to be on the podcast. So I was just basically saying hello and just kind of touching base. And I make it a point every morning to go on social media, Facebook, and just say good morning. That's all. I just say good morning. It's just that I'm there. What I am worried about, you're telling us that people need to step back and really look at things and kind of just get a grasp on it. But there's a lot of people that are not. I mean, if you read Facebook and you listen to all the different opinions about the politics and the politicians and all that, these people are, I mean, I think they're getting so wrapped up in that. That's what's really starting to scare me a little bit is people going after people. That head
Yeah, I have seen it more over the
bashing.
last like 24 hours for some reason, and I'm not quite sure what that is about. It is nerve wracking, and I think honestly it's because 30 days, we're 30 days in, we're a little bit over 30 days in, so
All of
this is
that.
one of
Yep.
there are people who are now getting accustomed to this new norm, and there's some people who are just so frustrated about it, and because this is where finances come into play, and people are financially struggling and worried about businesses and jobs, and I completely understand. But they're missing the big point too.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
is okay, you want to go back and you want to work, you want to have that job, but you go back and you have that job and then you die. Like, then you don't have that job anymore. Like,
Right.
we are
Right. No,
doing this for a
exactly.
very specific reason. And I'm like, that's the most blunt way to put it, but that's the only way to put it, because like, I think that this comes back to, people not having it directly affect them. So it feels like we're doing this for no reason, that there's no purpose behind it. But you see the numbers on TV. You're in New York State too.
Yeah.
It's incredible the amount of people in this state who have been infected or who have died. I just found out about a friend the other day who he's not really telling anybody because of people that are claiming it's a hoax and whatever. And
Right. Right.
he was in the hospital, and you know what? A healthy 40-something-year-old guy with no big medical issues, and he was in the hospital with COVID.
Yeah.
He's
Well, there
okay
you go.
now,
Yeah.
but
Thank the good Lord. But well, there you go. And what's like, say you being a life coach and all that, and telling people to relax. I shouldn't say I'll relax, but to kind of
yeah.
just regroup and
Hmm.
take time for yourself. Think about what's going on, maybe a little bit, but how you're going to make yourself better. You're not going to change what has happened or what is going on, but how are you going to accept that, and how are you going to move forward? and
Yeah,
and what are you going to do when we start to open up again, and what's going to happen? So, and it's not
yeah.
going to happen tomorrow. It's
I've
going to take time. So
I mentioned having that list every day of things to kind of accomplish, but it hit me like right when all this was happening. People were getting so frustrated, things were getting canceled, and places were closing, and we can't go to sporting events and all this kind of stuff. Make that list, that bucket list of all the things that you wish you could be doing right now. So when we can get back to normal life, you start checking stuff off that list,
there you
man. When
go. I
when you
love it.
get to start, I mean, how many people you miss? Like, what this is really putting in perspective for all of us is how the little things matter most. Just being able to hug a friend. Like I I went and delivered something to a friend a couple weeks ago, and I was with my mom in the car, and I just realized, like, hey, you know what? There's like three friends on the way home. Like, let's just drive by And I pulled into one apartment complex, and I made a phone call. And I'm like, "Hey, look out your window!" And I'm like, and like that
I
stupid
love
little
it.
moment,
Yeah, but that's so much.
it brightens my day, and it brightens their day, and it's like somebody thought about me, and or somebody thought about you, and it's like it's that small of a thing right now that we are starting to understand that that's all we really need in life. We don't need the big extravagant
Right,
things.
right,
It's
right.
great. It's great to have them, but we don't have to be trying to keep up with the Joneses. We really just need to have that connection with people, and keep leaning on each other. And so, like, when the moment is all good, and we can kind of go back out in the world, we can go and enjoy things with each other, and really grab hold of all those goals that we want to achieve. And it's so important to make that list and then get ready. Like, do what you got to do to reach all those things when you can get out of there, and
Mhm.
just kind of
I love
jump
it.
back into the world.
I love it. So, fieldishappy.com on the website. I'm sure you've got all your contact information. You've got your
Yep.
rates. You've got anything and everything that anybody should want to see about you. All right. And you're a people person. You're very good at what you do. You're very talented.
Thank you.
From the radio thing. And you're working part time right now, or
Um,
no?
no.
Okay.
So that's actually why I came back home to New York, because nothing was keeping me in Boston for the moment.
Okay.
Because they're not letting part-time employees into the building.
Well, our building's closed off too, but yeah, well, part timers aren't allowed. Same idea. So, but all right, but hopefully soon you'll be back on the air. But you've got all this going, and fieldishappy.com. If you need help, you want to talk to somebody, you want to kind of maybe think about where you're going with your life, and maybe set some new goals, or figure out what you like and what you don't like, and what you want to do and what you don't want to do. I think Marissa is like the woman you want to talk to here. I think that's pretty
I'm
cool.
I'm a pretty understanding person. I don't judge. And I've pretty much heard it all already. So
I
you're
love
not
it. I
gonna
love it.
you're not gonna shock or scare me. I promise.
Yeah. So jump on the website. Just check it out though. Fieldishappy.com. She is, pretty much this is what she's doing now, and full time.
Yeah,
So
I got plenty of time to talk to whoever
they
needs
got
it.
plenty of time. She'll talk to you all day. Well, I don't know. You might charge by the minute, but I don't know.
That might be
I
a
don't know.
different service. I don't know.
Yeah. But, I really respect what you're doing. I respect you as a person. And I knew that from the minute I first met you back in 2015, 2016, whatever year it was at St. Jude in Memphis. We had a good time. It's a radio conference. We were doing the radio Country Cares for St. Jude for the hospital. And Marissa was with the radio group out of Albany, and I was with the radio group in Syracuse. And they kind of put us all together. And that's how we got to know each other.
They
We
were
had a
like,
lot of
"Here,
fun.
put these misfits at this table.
Just put them in the back.
They put them in the back in the far corner. Nobody wants to talk to them."
You even got that Boston accent all of a sudden. The far corner. You
The
did
far
that.
corner.
You just
I
did that.
didn't.
Put them in the
I
far
didn't.
corner.
It's 3 years
I'm
in
kidding.
Boston. It's
I
it's
know.
3 years of
I know.
Boston and 3 years of kindly making fun of them because I love them so much.
Marissa, you are awesome, and it's great to catch up. And
Yeah, you too.
some great advice. And I just hopefully we should make this like a regular thing. Like,
Hey, if
you
you
know
want me
what?
on again, please just
Oh,
let me know.
absolutely, absolutely. I'm all ears, man. I'll listen to you talk forever, and it's some great information. But I want you to check out fieldishappy.com. Get all the information if you need a little bit of guidance in your life, and Marissa can help you out. You are awesome, girl. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having me.